not that you can bring a highball glass with vodka into the movie theater, but if you can, do. I always recommend it. And then you add a little bit of
Hello and welcome to episode 178 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. Apologies if you like to listen to this on a Saturday, but I had a family commitment yesterday, so I'm recording this on Sunday, the 6th of August. I hope you've had a great week. You are well and staying as sane as you feel you need to be. I'm your host, Ian Truscott. I'm no rockstar, but with this podcast, I want to share the marketing street knowledge I've picked up on my journey from sysadmin to CMO with the help of some true rockstars, my guests and chums, who I hope will inspire the marketing rockstar in you. You can find links to me, the guests, and all the things we talk about in the show notes on rockstarcmo.com, along with our street knowledge blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes. This week, Jeff and Robert are back. Jeff will be in the marketing studio to decide if a new TLA from Forrester is a one-hit wonder or Wonderwall, and I'll wind down the week in the Rockstar CMO bar with Robert for a cocktail and a marketing feed. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this one. We'll be right back.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christy Heiler hosts a fantastic podcast called Own It. Christy, tell us more about the show.
Own It is all about celebrating women and non-binary advertising agency owners. We talk about buying out of the Boys Club of Advertising because less than 1% of ad agencies are owned by women.
And where can people subscribe?
You can find the podcast at untilyouownit.com. We're also on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net. And of course, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe.
Before I get to Jeff, here's a quick thought from my Tuesday 2 Cents blog this week. When I was coming through sales training as a youthful B2B tech pre-sales consultant, we were very much focused on pain, finding, identifying, and even creating pain. If there was no pain, there would be no gain for the selling vendor. Strange as it might sound, but this is quite an evolved approach compared to what went before. Selling based on a pissing contest of features and functions and chucking in a bit of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the general direction of the competition. Okay, saying what happened before is not quite true, as that approach still walks amongst us today. There is still a belief that if you build features, they will come, but if there is no emotional pull towards discovering what each doohickey in your product does, why would a buyer put in the time? But pain is such a negative emotion, from the school of being interviewed for a sales job, being asked them to sell a glass of water and setting their tie on fire. I like to think about needs. Okay, so yes, a person with their tie on fire has a very immediate need. However, before someone set his tie on fire in an ill-judged response to an interview question, they probably had a more positive need for water. And while they will purchase a glass of water to quench the flames of their burning tie, I'm not sure it will form an enduring customer to sell a relationship. Okay, I've gone a bit far with the fire thing. But when I talk about need, it's not in the same sense that someone needs that product to be easy to use, integrated to SAP, or as some hot shit AI thingy. Yes, later in the sales cycle, it'd be essential for them to put in the time and explore all that functionality stuff. But right now, how does your product make them feel and motivate them to go deeper and discover more? What do they need beyond buying your product? And maybe, if they are truly emotionally sold on having you and their product in their lives, they will overlook some of their functionality needs and trust you that it's definitely planned for the next major release, or more importantly, be your champion or sponsor. When we choose our next laptop, is there a spreadsheet of features, specs, speeds and sizes that guides our purchase? Or do we choose based on what this laptop choice says about us? And yes, that might be rooted in the specs, it's faster, bigger or better, or maybe you want to appear sensible or frugal or have an emotional attachment to a brand. But these needs are not so much about features and functions, but underlying, enforcing or validating our aspirations about ourselves. In our B2B marketing, whatever you're flogging, you will have a stronger connection with your buyers if you're not just satisfying needs, but tugging on the emotional strings of aspiration. Why does the buyer need a solution to their problem? What are they aspiring to do? What's holding them back? And how can you help with that? Let's move B2B marketing from pain to aspiration. Right, that's quite enough of me. Although I am very curious about what you think of me tinkering with the format the last few weeks. Let me know. I'm Ian at rockstarcmo.com. Right, time to welcome back Jeff Clark, our resident Rockstar CMO strategy advisor and former Forrester research director, and join him in the marketing studio.
Welcome Ian into the studio. It's been there's a few cobwebs because I haven't had the door open, haven't had this open for a couple of weeks, but come on in.
That's funny. And I should be welcoming you back because you've been on holiday. So
yes, I have.
So your studio door has been firmly locked for the last 2 weeks.
That's right.
I had to sit on my own and record my own private thoughts.
That's very scary.
Well, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast yet, mate. It's not that scary. But anyway, so yeah. Welcome back from your holiday. How was your holiday?
It was awesome. It was a trip to the Basque country in both Spain and France, and the weather was beautiful by the ocean, and it is interesting because there's so much an emphasis on we're in the Basque country, but when you're in the Basque country in France, you really feel like you're in France. When you're in Spain, you really feel like you're in Spain. So I don't know. Maybe I need to dig a little deeper into that. But it was beautiful, beautiful spot, great food, and great weather, great people.
Yeah. No, I love Spain. I'll be in Spain in a couple of weeks' time myself. So
awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. Although we'll be in southern Spain, so it'll be about 400 degrees centigrade. So.
Yes,
not quite the cooling ocean breeze.
It was both areas we were in were packed with tourists, and I know exactly why because every place else was so hot.
Yes, exactly. And the trouble is, we have to leave the house because it's been pouring with rain here. How has it been in Massachusetts since you got home?
It's either been really hot or really cool. Or raining really hard. I mean, we had like a month's worth of rain. The week and a half we were away, we had like a month's worth of rain, and then the next day we had like a whole, we had like an inch and a half of rain. And it's like, so very, very humid, I would say.
Yeah, same here. All right, so that's splendid. So we've done the weather, we've welcomed you back, which is awesome. But one of the things I wanted to look at this week is, I think it was just before you went on holiday, I saw something that I thought, this is definitely something for Jeff. I thought was right up your alley. It's another 3-letter acronym from your old crew, Forrester Serious Decisions.
LRM. Wow.
Yeah, they've put... Hey, hang on a minute. I'm doing it.
Sorry. Just teeing you up.
Yeah, I know you've already done your research. So LRM, Life Cycle Revenue Marketing. And I thought we'd give it the one-hit wonder, wonderful treatment. I don't know, long-time listeners might remember we used to go through various ones of these TLAs and toss them out or keep them in. Decide whether something is a flash in the pan or a tune we'll be dancing to for years to come.
Fortunately, we didn't throw AI out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was, but the thing that I read, I mean, I don't have access to any of the research, so it was actually a blog post that I picked up, and it's two principal analysts, Kelvin G and Nora Conklin. They look like they're too new for you. I don't know if you knew those.
Yeah,
guys.
They're newbies.
Yeah. So I'll include that blog post in the show notes. But what they describe this LRM thing is, this new TLA, and I'm slightly cynical of analysts that create new TLA, so let's get off to a good start with that. They described it as two strategies that have gained prominence over the past decade: demand generation and count-based marketing, ABM, and it's the convergence of these two things. So demand generation and ABM, and I know you've had a look at it because you've already shared that you already knew the TLA I was going to share with you there and you chipped in. So what say you, Jeff?
Well, it was interesting because as I was reading the blog, I was like, well, they talk about two strategies that have gained prominence over the past decade, and it's okay. Demand generation, which has been around forever. Yeah. But I think, and maybe the point really in terms of it being new is that somewhere around the 2000 timeframe, marketers really became focused on this linear lead flow process, waterfalls, what's going on from initial engagement through MQLs and blah 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 blah. Yeah. And so so it's like, okay, that I think that was a very limited framework, although it certainly made serious decisions, a lot of money, and of course all the the platforms that support that. And then ABM, which, I guess ABM is probably a decade old, account-based marketing.
Yeah.
But as we've noted in our past discussions about when it's been thrown in the swimming pool, or you had one of the Forrester Serious Decision ABM experts on about a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? It is just good, well-targeted marketing. And I think one of the challenges is when you come up with these earth-shattering, breaking new concepts, it's like, well, you got to really dig below the surface to say, what is there here that's new, or what is there here that's just, putting a new name around something that we really should have been paying attention to before. So, with this idea of lifecycle revenue marketing, and the convergence. So I'm not sure the convergence is as important as the fact that as they go on to say in the blog, is you're looking at the entire customer journey and the revenue life cycle. I mean, you're not stopping when the closed won or closed loss happens. You're kind of going through the life cycle. To me, that's the important part, and whether you're converging things on that is almost irrelevant.
I completely agree, and we'll get onto that last bit in a moment, because I think they sort of buried the lead there a little bit by saying it was a combination of demand gen and ABM. It's actually something else about this. It's a bit more interesting. We'll talk about in a minute. But this isn't off to a good start, as we did chuck ABM into the Rockstar CMO swimming pool. So is there any point in continuing? Is this just a one-hit wonder, or do you think...
I think we throw it a life preserver and see if it comes out a little wet, but still,
all right,
still healthy.
All right. So we're not going to make an early conclusion. So let's carry on with this. So we like our journey models, don't we?
We love them.
Talking about journey models. So we did an episode 108 on buyer journey models, and I actually did some research, because, as I say, these days I've become a bit jaded by analysts that create TLAs, and then
as well you should.
I actually remember years ago, right, where I got all excited because who was that guy at Forrester? There was a couple of guys at Forrester who got really excited about persuasive content. And I got really excited by persuasive content, and I registered domain names and all sorts of things, and it died. It was a one-hit wonder. Nobody... I mean, people talk about persuasive content now, but it isn't a thing. Like it was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
So I think I got hurt by that. But anyway, but it's also more about that sort of collusion sometimes between vendors and analysts, where they invent a new category when there wasn't one before. So I'm a little bit... So I did some research, and it does seem that life cycle marketing has been around for a while.
Yeah.
But this sort of idea of LRM, life cycle revenue marketing, seems to be a new thing. So is it new? What's different here from what Forrester talked about before?
It is, a couple things, certainly popped to mind. The thing is that Forrester, and when we did the episode on buyer journey models, I mean, we did note that there were a couple of buyer journey models. One happened to be Forrester, one happened to be from the Pedowitz group that did look at the entire life cycle. It's like once somebody had purchased, then what's their adoption? Are they participating? Are they actualizing the benefits? Are they advocating? And so this had certainly has been an opportunity for Forrester to kind of revise the model they had before that went through the entire life cycle, and then come up with frankly a new image for their already existing concept. I know certainly when I was at Serious Decisions, and we were so focused on the whole demand creation function and process, and so people who came in who started to help us take a look at the entire life cycle were, they were having an impact. But this is where, as often happens in the analyst firms, it's the debate that happens internally that all of a sudden they come to a conclusion. Here we have a new model with a new image, with a new construct to work with, so that's where I think that we can sort of allay our suspicions a bit, and it's really, I mean, the thing is that it's interesting at how long it's taken for marketers to realize that they can't just stop at the sale. When the sale is done, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go get the next set of engagements and try to bring them through the process. Because certainly the fact that more companies have gotten into subscription-based models of various forms, but even if you realize that your best selling is to existing customers, then you've got to understand, once we sold them, are they happy? Are they using the product? Are we, are they go through all those stages? And marketing has a role in helping with that. It's not just the account management team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was interesting actually that I mean, you've included I'm going to have to put them in the show notes because they're hard to describe, but basically that it's, they've always had this sort of circle, haven't they, that sort of loops around, and it started off from discover and awareness, and it sort of went through to advocate. I'm not really seeing enough in their model of that. They all seem to end on advocate, right? Which isn't the same as selling to existing customers.
It's not taking it right around to the what do you do with, although in the model, and this is again hard for the listeners, but it's like they show a little arrow that that goes off, and then they show another thing that kind of comes in at the discover phase, and so I guess you can kind of assume that there are you're as a marketer, you're going to detect when there are existing customers who are back into a buying process.
Yeah, but they're in some sort of fast track on that, aren't they? Because they're going to look at you very differently in the evaluate and commit roles, because they already know you, right? And it's either going to be positive or negative, but it isn't going to be the same process, and they're not going to need the same materials.
Unless it's off to a new, like an entirely different solution, same vendor, but different customer need, different solution, maybe even a different buying group.
That's true.
So those are all very dependent on where they are in the process.
What I quite liked about what you've cut and pasted into the notes here, it says source Forrester Research Inc. unauthorized reproduction, citation or distribution prohibited. So not only am I playing 30 seconds of illegal music probably on this podcast, but I shall have Forrester's I shall have Forrester's legal team after me as well.
That's right. And of course, we're only helping get people to their website to sign up as customers. So folks, if you sign up to Forrester, please say that we sent you there, and that'll keep the lawyers at bay. So as we discussed this, then, so this is so the difference really is it's putting a greater emphasis on selling to existing customers, which I really vibe with at the moment, because in my day job, we're an acquisitive software organization, and part of our value proposition really is that we will then sell the new acquisitions that we've purchased, the new technology, and we have a 4,000 customer base that we can go out to and do this. And so for us, for me as a marketing leader, there is a huge amount of emphasis right now on customer marketing and doing this. So this is good to see. I do think it's still a little biased towards new business, but I think that's good. So the nice thing about this new model is the great emphasis on selling to existing customers. Yeah, and I think it's so one of the things, certainly with our marketing and selling systems today, it's easier for us to get the signals as marketers of where customers are in their buying journey. And certainly if you've got products where you can actually understand, is the customer using, what's the frequency that they're using? And if you can pull all of this information, including any type of information about services or sales engagements with a customer, now you kind of know where they are in that post-sale, adoption, utilization phases of the journey. So this becomes, a way of, understanding what the whole journey looks like. It's a good foundation for planning and content development. What do we need to provide people who are on these stages of using the product? How can we gauge when a contact is, ripe for being an advocate? How can we gauge when they're ripe for being in the buying process again? So if we're capturing all this data, it becomes very useful for us to to understand how to market to that other part of the journey, which before it was like, it's like the customer, they bought the product, they went away, as far as we could tell, until they responded to another lead again. And so that's what we want to avoid, that waiting process, or waiting for somebody in sales to find out about it too late.
Yes. And yes, you've leapt ahead a little bit in the notes there.
Did I?
But what I wanted to point out there, so those are the benefits you just expressed of having this model that's slightly different in this LRM thing, is that now we're polling the health of the customer as a regimented part of this process right now. Yep. If I throw in, as you went off script, if I throw in a supplementary question to this as a day-to-day challenge as a CMO, is my view on this, and we were having this discussion the other day internally, is attribution, marketing attribution is a bit more challenging when it comes to customer marketing. What's your view on this? Is this something you've seen where that the organisations marketing organisations have needed to overcome? Because we're always trying to value ourselves, aren't we, and give examples of what contribution we've made. We're always trying to justify our own existence and our own budgets in marketing. Nobody trusts that what we do just works.
That's let me just say right now, it's impossible to justify.
Yeah. But what I mean, have you seen successful models where people have actually managed to look at customer marketing and the contribution that marketing makes in that area, rather than it just being account management or the existing relationship?
I think the short answer is probably no. And it's
my suspicion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that certainly, and with the a lot of the marketing performance analytics or attribution tools that started popping out, I don't know, maybe that started 10 years ago, but then it's like, oh my gosh, look, I can measure the number of touches we've had with a customer, and at various stages and all, so you can measure these things, and the question comes: does the internal audience that you're trying to sell to say, look, we help in this? Do they buy it? And so that's going to be very dependent on the culture, because some cultures, being marketing oriented, are going to buy it. Yeah. Some cultures that are very sales oriented are going to be like, I mean, I don't care what you guys did, but I'm the one that closed the deal. So,
well, the other thing is attribution. So, I mean, the only thing I would say on this, and maybe hopefully some of this work that Forrester's doing is going to help clarify this, is I think that for so long we've had a very defined funnel. We understand what a funnel is. We understand the definition of an MQL. We understand the definition of SQL, opportunity, and whatever, right? And we can lay some claim to where we touch them at some points, because and it doesn't really work like this in real life. But in our fantasy marketing land, everybody walks down that path, and we can count them as they go through the gates, right? But with this, and I think with this is it's that constant challenge of multi-touch attribution, isn't it? Because by
Absolutely.
their nature, a customer is going to be multi-touch. So therefore, what point? Was it they came to our event, or was it the fact they downloaded this white paper? What was it that actually spurred them into action?
I think the thing is that with the systems, and again, if we go back to the idea, you're trying to create a holistic data set of engagement that your systems can draw information from, and so if the system can show basically the health of the customer, and I know at a couple of companies, we struggle or trying to put these things together using, from data from the data warehouse to say, oh, look, this customer looks to be in good shape and they look to be in buying mode again. But you can do those things today, and if that information is shared directly with the sales organization through their CRM tool, then it's like you're showing your value not as much to claim attribution, to say, look, marketing did this, but to basically marketing and sales working in concert to understand where a customer is and give sales signals for when it's a good time to be in touch with them if you haven't been in touch with them lately.
Yeah, but therein your problem as well, mate, because that's our normal fresh new business, it would be sales and marketing collaboration together. But the customer, it's customer service, it's account management, it's the quality of the product, it's everything. It's everything.
Yeah,
absolutely. So
yeah.
that's hard to do.
I mean, at one company that I worked at, the sales did have access to systems where they could understand, where are the service tickets, support calls, et cetera. I mean, you had to go into, the thing is, at the time, so this is, probably about 10 years ago, is that you had to go into separate systems to do that. But that's the idea. A good account manager would say, I'm going to check these things out to see, or maybe I heard something from, somebody at JP Morgan Chase. I heard that something was going wrong. Now I can actually go into systems and see, where the issue is. Now I know who to call to follow up on it. And so
that's a really good point, actually, because I think when we're looking at the dashboards we need to set up, there's like a customer health dashboard, isn't there? That, okay, these guys, just don't call them.
Really.
And I also, the other thing, there's sort of like a little bit of a dirty little secret with SaaS, is that there will be organizations that are paying for your service and not using it, and as soon as you poke them, they're going to go, oh yes,
I got to cancel that. Yeah. Been there.
All right,
been on both sides of that one.
So I think the conclusion then is that, despite my cynicism of a TLA invented by analysts, and no disrespect to Kelvin G and Nora Conklin,
absolutely.
I also didn't look up their background, so they may. I mean, sometimes career analysts lose a little bit of touch with the real world, in my opinion. But it might be these two people are fantastic rock stars in their own right.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we're going with this as it's not a one-hit wonder. It's a Wonderwall.
I mean, I always share your cynicism on three-letter acronyms, and it seems like you put revenue in front of something, and that makes it more important.
Yes.
But I think the concept is solid, and I think that when you go back to the convergence thing, I mean, demand generation was too focused on leads and the pre-purchase process. ABM was just doing good marketing, and this helps us. So as this catches on with the audience, it moves us past those kind of two short-sighted marketing models to something that's more holistic and hopefully leads to better success.
No, I like it. And I was just pondering in my head for a moment there whether anybody's actually gone deep into the custom marketing thing and whether there's a model for that. Might have a look at that. But anyway, so this is a Wonderwall, so I'm going to play out with Wonderwall by Oasis from 1995, which regular listeners may remember from our previous
It's so much more fun to pay one-hit wonders, though, but...
I know. I'd love to share with you, listeners, that the one-hit wonder you came up with was Turning Japanese by the Vapors from 1980, which is a fun tune. But anyway, we're going to go out with Wonderwall by the Oasis. So, and will you be in the studio next week?
Yes, I will be here.
Jolly good. Well, I'll see you then, mate.
Sounds good.
Cheers, buddy.
Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had it out. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead.
Thank you, Jeff. And that was, of course, Oasis and Wonderwall, as we decided that lifecycle revenue marketing is a thing. What do you think? I will, of course, include a link to the article referred to there in the show notes, and you can contact me or Jeff on the socials or on rockstarcmo.com. Right, it's time to wind down the week in the Rockstar CMO virtual bar and join my friend and content marketing guru Robert Rose, chief troublemaker at the Content Advisory, for a cocktail and a marketing thought. Good evening, Robert. What are you drinking?
Oh, hello, my friend, and welcome to the bar. It is the dog days of summer, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Is it hot there? Is it?
No. No, Europe at the moment is divided between north and south because of where.
Well, isn't it always?
Yeah, that's true. The country is divided.
Yes,
but
yes.
If you're below the jet stream at the moment, it is fucking hot. Just to use a meteorological term.
That's right.
And above that, it's pissing with rain. So like us, the Netherlands and all that part of Europe is under the cloud and rain, and below that you're forest fires and basically frying eggs on the pavement. So
I see. And so London would be above, I would assume.
Yes. Yeah, so it's grey and rainy here, so we're not having the hot. How's it there?
Yeah, well, we are having the hot here. And it's also, of course, the dog days, other than rebranding of Twitter and those kinds of things, we're not seeing a lot of news, as it were, but despite that, there is news in the media and marketing and whatnot, and tonight's drink is a celebration of that.
Sweet.
Of course, have you seen the new movie Barbie?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't.
The marketing machine that is the Barbie movie.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
It's wonderful. It's definitely. I'll put it this way: it definitely has a message, and it's not what you think it's going to be, which I think is, in a nice way, surprisingly good. And it is funny, and I will say Ryan Gosling steals the whole movie. I mean, he is just absolutely funny and charming and delightful and all sorts of things. So anyway, tonight we have a wonderful drink to celebrate this, and we're calling it a vodka spritz. And so we've got a little bit of vodka. So this is equal parts vodka and Lillet Rose, which, if you don't know, is sort of a vermouth, aperitif, a French aperitif vermouth type drink. So equal parts of each. So 1.5 ounces of each of those in a highball glass. So this is a summer drink. So stick it in a very tall glass with ice.
Nice.
And of course, Lillet Rose is pink in color. And makes a very pink drink. So it is the perfect drink to accompany you to Barbie with. Not that you can bring a highball glass with vodka into the movie theater, but if you can, I always recommend it. And then you add a little bit of a lemon garnish there, twist of lemon, a little bit of lemon juice just for fun. And it's for the summer heat. And for going to Barbie, it is the perfect refreshing drink. Wow.
That sounds very nice. Well, I shall attempt to make that very same drink using only the ingredients on my desktop bar. You had some ice in that, didn't you? So
yes, this is a classic highball glass.
All right.
Suck it down, big,
nice. Well,
big drink.
You've got some vodka in there, which we both have agreed several shows ago that the most English of vodkas is, of course, Hendrick's gin. So
that's right.
Not sponsoring the show, just in case anybody's wondering, from Hendrick's. And I like your spritzy idea there. So I'm going to go with a bit of spritz rather than your Lily Rose and your lemon garnish. The very nice people over at Fever Tree, I was chatting to them this week, and they said the most English of lemons is, of course, the cucumber.
Yes.
And they've put some in their rather nice tonic water. So
I did omit the tonic. Yes. You want to top the 3 ounces of liquor that I just told you to put into the glass with tonic. Or sparkling water if you prefer, but tonic is good as well. So, yeah,
that's a fancy vodka tonic, really, isn't it?
It really is. It really is a fancy vodka tonic with the Lillet Rose. Yeah,
I have so little faith in my own memory. I'm thinking, I'm sure Robert must have put something in it to make it this.
Well, it was the spritzy part. I went, I forgot the spritzy part. Yeah, I did. I did forget to add the tonic. I mean, I got all fascinated with the liquor that I forgot to water it down a little bit.
That sounds like a good evening where you started forgetting to put the tonic in.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, that's splendid. And I could drink one of these every week, and that's a vodka spritz. Thank you very much. And where, aside from trying to sneak a highball glass into the Barbie movie, where are we going to be drinking these?
Well, I think we have to head out to where the bar. This is no spoiler alert, I promise you. But I think we have to head out to Malibu, of course, because you've got Malibu Barbie and Ken, and I think we have to head out to Malibu and sit out on the beach in front of the Barbie house, pink, and drink our pink drinks.
I love it. And is Malibu far from you?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yes, nice. So when we have finished marveling at our pink drinks and this beautiful pink surroundings and the Malibu beach, which I'm sure is beautiful, and the conversation turns to marketing, what are we going to be talking about this week, Robert?
Well, I think we'll talk this week about, it's a bit of a geeky topic for marketing, but it's differentiation. And I think it's a nice sort of segue from our discussion about Barbie, because I think it's both Barbie and Oppenheimer have been able to differentiate themselves fairly well. But differentiation is, of course, one of the hardest things that marketers will do.
Yeah.
It is probably the singular biggest focus when we think about product marketing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been doing a lot of thinking about is, we often think of storytelling when we talk about business storytelling and all of that. We think of it as brand, we think of it as content marketing, we think of it as engagement, but we rarely think about it in terms of product marketing and product differentiation. And it can actually be one of the strongest ways to differentiate your product. And what I mean by that is, if you look at sort of the classic product marketing science of differentiation, most, certainly the way I learned it in university, and certainly the way we think about product marketing differentiation, is horizontal differentiation, vertical differentiation, and mixed differentiation. And of course, vertical differentiation is all based on objective qualities of the product based on some sort of hierarchical range from our customer. In other words, price, size, all those kinds of things that can be objectively judged based on a customer's importance. So the example here is, I pick an Apple computer because the brand is known for higher quality products. And so objectively, when I look at it against other quality products, I can see that the Apple product is of higher quality, the materials are of higher quality. And so that differentiates it in my mind as a buyer. Or because I pick a frozen pizza because its calorie count is lower, right? It's objectively lower than its competition. And then you have, of course, horizontal differentiation, which is based on contextual feeling in the moment, right? So this is, I prefer a vanilla milkshake right now rather than chocolate. There's no differentiation objectively between a chocolate and vanilla. I just prefer vanilla, right? It's just, it's all subjective based on the buyer at that particular thing. Or I pick the purple iPhone versus the red iPhone. Objectively, they are the same iPhone. It's just one is purple and one is red. Or you're a company and you pick an enterprise software product because your CEO likes the sales guy the best, right? That's horizontal. And then you've got mixed, right? Which is classically in B2B, when we think of B2B marketing, where we go to, right? Mixed differentiation is where we mix up both of those things, vertical and horizontal differentiation. And we say, okay, there's a couple, they're going to buy a new car, and they're differentiating based on objective metrics like gas mileage and safety rankings and all those things, and subjective ones, how friendly the sales staff was.
Yeah.
So in complex purchases or B2B purchases, we as marketers default to mixed. And in fact, we've gotten to the point where we default so hard into the mixed differentiation that there's a bit of almost like a trope going on with B2B marketing now, where we introduce the best of both worlds, right? It's always the best of both worlds, right? Where we say, oh, you'll efficiently unlock high performance, right? Or we're fully integrated and modular, or it's powerfully complex and intuitive to use, So it's the sort of mixing of the opposites of differentiation that we try and give customers the best of both worlds, because we're trying to differentiate and we just usually don't know how. Wonderful example, by the way, because if you, what made me really sort of inspired me with this, if you go to OpenAI right now, OpenAI's main product page, right? The main headline for how they're differentiating Chat GPT is transforming work and creativity with AI, right? So they're giving us the best of both worlds. Now, the point being, storytelling, if we can figure out how to start looking for stories and tell stories, it can help us drive product differentiation. And the reason why is because storytelling positions product differently than just simple marketing copy or advertising copy. In other words, gives us the best of both worlds by putting it into a metaphor or a story or something like that. Because when we think about it, the idea is when we're trying to meet customers' prioritized preferences, great storytelling helps the customer understand what the right priority should be. In other words, we're not depending on just listing out features and saying, this is what we think you are going to be prioritizing or should be prioritizing. Storytelling is saying, here is what you should be considering. It convinces them that these are the features or these are the differentiators that should be important because we're putting them into emotional stories for you. And that will help you create preferences that your customers will prioritize. So it sort of turns the whole relationship around on differentiation if you can figure out how to tell a great story about your product.
Yeah, I love this. I love this, obviously, because I'm in B2B marketing, right? So, but also that a couple of thoughts come to me with that one, with that telling the stories thing. And it's something I was exploring a little bit in a blog post I wrote last week, was that actually I think if you can get the subjective stuff nice and strong and you're telling a story and somebody trusts you and they believe in you, the objective stuff, like the features and functions and stuff, take more of a back seat than the emotional stuff. So they're more willing to go with you that, oh yeah, sure, that feature will be out in our next release, or we're not, the features and functions thing matrix isn't quite adding up, but I like you guys. Do you see what I mean? I think if you can tell a great story and get customers on board, that emotional stuff actually outweighs the features and functions and the objective stuff that you're referring to.
Well, indeed, right? Yeah, because what you're really doing is, by creating that great story that relates emotionally or, in an empathic way, really, to the customer, is that you're telling them what they should prioritize without telling them what they should prioritize, right?
Yeah.
In other words, you're saying, this is what you will really value. I know you think you need to, you're going to value. Yeah. It's basically the way we sometimes think about it is giving the customer what they want rather than what they need, right? In other words, selling them what they want, but giving them what they need. They need all those features and benefits that we're going to provide with our product that are probably equal to, or maybe a little better, faster, whatever, than our competitors. But what they want is a great experience in the sales process, or what they want is clarity around what they should, because they don't know, right? They don't know what they're buying. It's that clarity and meaning and empathy and emotion that helps them understand without us going, this is what you should care about. We're actually telling them what they should care about, but without telling them they should care about it. And so we're doing it in a much more artful way.
Yeah. When I first started in B2B sales, when I was in pre-sales and we did our sales training years ago, they used to call that re-engineering the vision, right? And it wasn't as artful as telling stories. It was a different approach, right? Which is just to sort of create pain, and who wants to do that? But I really like it kind of relates to that, doesn't it? Is that we're actually changing through storytelling, we're changing the view of the buyer of the category and what should be important to them. And the other thing I think it does is it kind of defends you against the feature function guys that are going to come after you on features and functions. So, that it builds that ring fence or that moat around your differentiation you're offering.
But that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. It's a method by which you can, because it gets so conflated at times when we start thinking about storytelling with, oh, you're not talking about our product. We can't talk, if we're storytelling, we can't talk about our product. Well, that's not true. We certainly can. But it's how we talk about the product, right? It's how we talk about the value proposition that we're trying to create here that makes a difference.
And with the customer as the hero, right? Is it's
of
going
course.
to
Well, yeah,
change their world?
Point,
yeah. Well, but I'm fascinated by this topic because it's so hard in B2B tech, especially to be differentiated. And I loved all those phrases that you'd plucked out about trying to pick those because, you know, they're this typical kind of thing we see that most people are saying about their products. It's complex but easy to use. It's simple but scalable and all that kind of shit. When you're approaching customers and you're working with your clients on this, where do you suggest they start with their differentiation?
Where do they start?
Yeah. If they're going down this journey and they want to tell this differentiated story, what's the important thing that needs to be pulled out of that? Where do you find that differentiation?
Well, I think you find it it's always in the customer, right? So
yeah.
You know, it's in what they're really. What are they really struggling with, right? Yeah. That is outside the, outside the immediate benefit that you can provide. Right. In other words, you know, when I'm selling someone, and this, you know, this gets to jobs to be done. It gets to so many design thinking and, you know, so many of the different methodologies that are out there to think about this from a product, you know, from when we're thinking about this from a product standpoint. But the way I think about it is what is it we're really solving for the customer, right? And so telling a story about that. In other words, if I'm selling them a computer, differentiating on the speeds and the feeds and the storage size all those things, that's not helping the customer do what it is they want to do. This is what the customer really wants to do is make photos or create videos or I'm trying to do, this is what the customer's trying to do. And that's where we want to tell a story. Right, which is what is the ultimate end job or the end activity that I'm trying to help the customer make progress toward, and how do I tell a story around that rather than how do I make my, you know, red computer more appealing because it's more red than any red you've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's needs and aspirations, isn't it? It's appealing to them. So that's fantastic. Yes. And I guess I shouldn't just spring questions on you and get free consulting in the bar. We should really, pay for this kind of advice. But anyway, if people were looking for advice like this for free on the internet, where would they find it?
You'll find that at contentadvisory.net. That's our website. And basically, it's all about it's all the stuff that we're fit to print these days. You know, we're busy and stuff, and so we're trying to keep it up to date as much as we possibly can. But go there,
Splendid. So that's contentadvisory.net. And when people spin the dial on the interwebs and they're looking for you, Robert, where they're going to find you?
They'll find me on social media. And basically, they'll find me on at LinkedIn is the best place to catch me.
How are you enjoying the threads?
How am I enjoying
threads?
I haven't been on it that much, and I think this is a general consensus. But I have been. I got on immediately, and then I've been looking at it every day, but I haven't been posting there a lot. And a lot of that is because they don't have the API for the desktop. I don't spend a lot of time on my phone. I spend much more time in front of my computer. So I would much rather post from my computer than my phone. So until they have that, it probably won't be a heavy content creator experience for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's hard to get it into your routine when it's on your phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's splendid. And Threads, LinkedIn, and all those social things aside, will you be in the bar next week?
Indeed I will.
I look forward to it, my friend. And by the way, we missed you last week. I hope you enjoyed your business trip last week. And
I did indeed, yes.
Yes, definitely come back. So I'll see you next week. Thank you, Robert. Great to have Robert back in the bar. Todd was great last week. To be honest, it was a complete coincidence that my marketing thought this week at the beginning of the show synced so nicely with what Robert was talking about there. Really good conversation. So that's a wrap on episode 178 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. I've been your host, Ian Truscott. Thanks to Jeff and Robert for sharing their insight. And you can find all our links and the things we discussed in the show notes on rockstarcmo.com, along with our blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes. And thank you for dropping a dime into your podcasting jukebox, selecting our track, and jiving along with us. Please let us know what you think via the socials. Drop us a rating or review in your favourite podcast app. or just keep listening. I'm glad you're here. Me, Jeff and Robert will be back next week, and I hope you again join us here again on Rockstar CMO FM.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.